before the label started, we were really just a production house, because I'm myself a sound engineer, and my partner Max-Antoine Gendron, he's a producer, sound engineer as well. And so by the time I met him like 4 years ago, so that's maybe about a year and a half before we launched the label, we started working together as just two friends that liked music and wanted to make some dope music together. And so I brought him some artists that I was working with. He shared some projects with me as well, and I helped him out with engineering, some mixing, some mastering, and you know, one thing led to the other, and we kind of started this music group together. And at the time we called it the Ghost Music Group. From that we built a lot of projects. We did Grand Buddha's project under Ghost Music Group. We did the first EP of Aricia under Ghost Music Group. We did the EP of Saint Alpha under the Ghost Music Group. He produced a bunch of house acts as well as a ghost producer under the Ghost Music Group. It kind of went from there, you know, where like we were behind the scenes, and that's the whole idea of the Ghost. We're kind of there, but we're not, you know, we're behind it. We do work at this shit. We do make this happen, but we're not there. We put the artists up front. We let them live their thing. And so from there kind of started the whole concept of the Ghost Music Group. Of like a year after we were like sitting on like many projects and almost about 100 tracks, and we're like, well, what are we gonna do with this? You know, are we really just gonna let it go out of our hands and give it to the artists and let them do whatever they want with it and place it whatever, wherever, and just kind of, you know, I dropped some music, here it is. When we put it so much time and effort into it, that's where we were like, maybe not, you know, maybe we should kind of keep the control and build with them, you know, and develop them, and not just produce a project, drop it and go on, but just actually build with them and go forward in the whole aspect with them. So in that aspect, we kind of went on the direction of making the label, and we switched the music group from being Ghost Music Group to the Ghost Club Records, where it's still a group, the club part, but we're also Ghost, where we're still a bunch of people behind working with artists and other producers that kind of add up to the label, to the group at that point. We're also producing other acts. So it was really, the whole mentality was really just, we're a bunch of friends helping each other and building each other and developing each other. And, you know, one doesn't grow by itself. One grows, the other ones grow as well. And so it's all together, you know, because one may make it, but if one makes it, the other ones makes it too, you know, because then it gives shine and attention to the other ones, and the other ones can also push their project as well. From the start, we were already in that DIY mentality where we could do the compositions, do the production with the artists, do the writing with the artists, do the mixing, mastering, and just have a finished product without having to spend any money, like how an artist would usually do it in other labels, where the label would front them, okay, here's 20K, deal with it, do your project, then we'll recoup it. Okay, whatever, that's cool. Instead of that, we were fronting it in the way where like, we're giving you all of this, you don't have to pay shit. We're giving you all of this, and we build what you're doing. Some of the artists actually wanted to also pay for that time, because in that aspect they also keep their rights, you know, they keep their master rights, because, well, I paid for this, so this is also mine, you know, and that's fair as well. So some artists have their control over it, some other artists don't, and some other artists were fronted the full thing. And I think it's a very strong asset for us, and it has been from the start, with the mentality of the Ghost Music Group leading towards the label after, and still to this day, is that we do everything ourselves. You know, like, since I'm a sound engineer, Max is a sound engineer, we really do everything ourselves, you know. And still this year, we're in the second year, and this year we were like, well, maybe we should get it mastered by somebody else, you know, have that quality top master shit, you know. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, but at some point you're like, we have to actually spend money. Why don't we just do it ourselves, when we could actually take that money and spend it elsewhere for like promotion or other things, and investing it elsewhere, and just having a strong promotion, or doing events, or just doing videos, or doing projects on the side, and like, that's what really matters. And that's the things that nobody's gonna come over and be like, hey, do you want us to help you with this video? No, you gotta do it yourself. You know, you gotta pull the strings together and pull the favors together and pay the people you have to pay and get it done. There's nobody that's gonna come, hey, do you want this done? Like, no, you gotta go and get it, you know? So I think yes, I think our production standard and our quality standard has been up to a good level, and we've been raising the bar ever since. And man, I mean, what proves us right is that we get a lot of people from the local scene and from the international hollering at us like, hey, we want you guys to do this for us, you know, we want that sound, you know. We're like, okay, well, we're doing something right, you know, things are going in the right way, because if people that are known are hollering at us, are hollering at our in-house producer, that's Max Antoine, or are hollering at me to get shit mastered, well, I mean, we're doing something right. People want that sound, people want that quality standard, so we're actually doing things right. So let's just keep it going, you know, let's keep it consistent. We do whatever it needs to be done to get where we want to go. If that involves having publishing deals with this and that and doing as many as possible, or get contacts going and do some free shit first, but then move on and then know the right people and then get a right publishing deal and then get paid for it, well, we'll do that, you know. So, and once again, we do everything DIY. It's all like me and Max pulling strings together and contacting people and contacting brands and like trying to get it out there, you know. It's all very DIY because we don't have a publishing deal for the label. We do everything in-house. So we do everything ourselves. From the production part to the release part to the mastering to the master rights and the production rights, and even the registering of all the tracks on SoCon. Nobody's gonna come once again and be like, hey, do you want this done for you? Like, you guys need it on SoCon, can I do this? No, nobody's gonna come around and be telling me that shit, so I have to do it myself. So I go on SoCon and get to learn the platform and get to like register all the tracks, and by now we have hundreds of tracks, man, and it gets overwhelming, but it has to keep up and it has to be there, you know, it has to be done. I don't take time off. I don't take time for myself, and that's a problem that I have, but it's just because I'm way too much invested in what I do. And so that's actually an issue that I have personally, because I have to deal with that shit, but I'm so invested in what I do that I leave my own person aside and just focus on what I have to do, you know, because it's so much more important than myself at that point, you know. Like, there's people that depend on what I do, you know. There's artists that depend on my efforts. There are artists that depend on me sending an email and getting shit done. There's people that depend on me to get their paid, you know. There's people depending on me to do the right connections and making a deal happen or making a release happen, or so, you know. So all of these aspects just lead me to a part where like I'm constantly working, constantly being a broker more than a creator. In the last 2 years, I've had some gigs and I've done some material with other artists that are not related to Ghost Club, but it's much less than before Ghost Club, you know. Like, before Ghost Club, I was working with a lot of artists, you know, and like known artists, less known artists. But now, like, even the artists that I used to work with, in their head, they're like kind of like, well, he's busy, you know, he's too busy doing his thing, so I'm gonna just go and holler somebody else because he's too much into his shit, you know. And it could be a negative thing in the sense of like the creation part and the creative part of things, because I don't have as much time for my own things as a freelance. But at the same time, it just gives me so much more time and force to like just keep hustling with what I do already and with the label, you know, and just push it to the next level. At first, you know, like we said, we were a production house, and yeah, okay, we do everything in-house and we do everything for our artists in-house, and that's cool. But we kind of went off track when we converted into the label and got more into like, okay, let's put products up front rather than just creating it, but both go hand in hand, and it's very important. So now we're actually trying to implement that. Even myself, all of my stuff as a freelance, it still goes under Ghost Club Records, but it's not releasable under Ghost Club Records, you know what I mean? So like, you would come to my studio and you work with me, you're paying Ghost Club Records for the engineer of Ghost Club Records to do this for you, but so you're paying the production house of Ghost Club Records to do this for you, but you're not actually releasing under Ghost Club Records, if you know what I mean, you know?
Right.
So one goes in hand with the other, and I think that's something that we're really trying to implement and do much more seriously in the next couple of years, where we want to like have both into each other, you know. And even Max Antoine Gendron, my partner, he produces for big artists, man. He works with Brodinski, he's worked with DJ Snake, he works with like big artists in Quebec as well that holler for him to work on productions like Milk and Bone and such. And so like even those things, we want it all to go through like the music production part of our label, because then it just gives so much more power to our label. Like, oh yeah, the music production company that worked on DJ Snake's album, Ghost Club Records, also released this album on the side independently. Like it gets talking, you know. People will be like, oh shit, okay, so the label that released this independently in Canada also was part of this production that released worldwide with this big ass name that everybody knows. Like, whoa, what is this thing, you know? And that's what we are, but we haven't put it up front. So now it's more about really just making it clear, this is who we are, you know. We aren't just a label, we're also a production house, and we work with artists worldwide. And if eventually we work with a DJ Snake or Rihanna and they fuck with Ghost Club Records and they want to fucking release with us, well, let's go, let's do it. Like, we're ready, we've have that part as well, so let's go, let's do it, you know. There will be nothing stopping us. I find that there's one key to all of this thing, and it's consistency. I don't think there's anything else explaining this shit, and it applies for any brand, man. When you think about it, like, you know, you think about Johnny Walker, you know, a brand of whiskey that's been around for decades, you know, it's been around for a long fucking time. And how come that even after all this time, we still like, oh yeah, Johnny Walker, yeah, the brand, yeah, the guy walking, yeah, okay, yeah, the 12-year aged whiskey and this and that, and like it's because they keep it consistent. They've never lowered their quality standard, you know? And if they had, we wouldn't be talking about Johnny Walker right now. It's the same thing for anything, really. Like, consistency, the delivery of your product, the quality standard. Like, if you keep all of those things in a consistent delivery, I think it gives the right aspect for anything in any brand or any company to maintain its level and to like push it to another level after, because you're just constantly raising, you know, and you're just constantly, you never go down, you never go back, you always go forward, you know. You always maintain the same quality standard, or you go higher and then you have to maintain that higher, you know. And I think it's key, and from the start we've always kept the same consistency in our branding, in the presentation, in the approach that we've had with music, and the approach we've had with the artists and our artists themselves. Like, everything has been consistent, and I think it has been a major key but it has been a major key into all of this, because it really is part of it. Like, if you don't keep it consistent, man, like, it doesn't go anywhere, you know. It's even like any sports, you know. If you don't practice and if you don't go to your practice, when you get to the championship, you're gonna suck, dude, you know. But if you do your practices, you're always there, you always practice, you always keep it consistent, and when you get to the championship, it's gonna be as good, you know. But if you don't, then it's just because you weren't consistent, you weren't delivering what was needed for you to reach that point, you know. I'd say that the very first thing, and before even the consistency or before the presentation or before taking any direction or any steps, the very first thing would be to really just trust yourself and to really believe in what you're doing. For me, I've had trials before, and I did try to build a label before with a friend, and it didn't go as well, and I had to learn from it, and I had to realize my value, what I wanted to do, and what I was worth to get where I am today, because that brought me to the point where I was like, man, I'm worth this. I can do this. Like, why do I have to like depend on somebody else? I can do this myself. Like, you know, like I can really reach these goals myself, and I believed in myself, and by doing that, I left a job, I left that relationship aside, and I met Max, and from Max everything went down, you know. Like, the music group started, the label started, the relationship with the artist started, and it was a snowball, man. It was a snowball effect. After that, everything just led to the other end, and the consistency came along, and that just made it bigger and bigger and bigger, and hopefully in 2 years it's gonna be out of control, and I'm gonna be like, I don't know what to do anymore, man. I have like 20 persons working for me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know his name, I don't know her name, but I know they work for me, you know. But I don't know, man. It's just about believing in yourself. I think it's very fucking important. Like, if you don't believe in yourself and if you don't put yourself up front first, you're never gonna be able to put other people up front or other people in the place where they deserve to be, to show their talent, show their music, show their product, show what they can do, you know? I think it was a very, very important aspect to, like, at first believe in myself, to then be able to believe in others and make them feel comfortable enough to believe in themselves as well, to go on and do what they have to do, you know? With Aricia, with Cyber, okay, we're funneling down, we're like finding the right sound that we should keep, you know? And it's part of it, I find, you know? Like, even the hip-hop guys, we drop like classic hip-hop records, like with C's Rock. That's like, that project for me is one of my staples in my career, because I've always been a fan of C's Rock, and to be able to, like, dude, I remember the first time I walked into Max's crib and I heard his voice and I was like, what? C's Rock is here? Really? Then I saw him and I was like, yo, Sam, what up? You're here, bro, what up? And I saw that he was making beats with Max and Max was producing him, and a couple weeks later Max is like, dude, I really got something with him, it's super fire. And from that point on, I was just excited and I really wanted to sign it under the label and not just let it go, and we were able to sign it under the label and release it. And for me, man, it's one of my proudest moments until now in my career, you know? It's like some real ass fucking hip-hop, you know, like straight out of the streets hip-hop, you know, like real content, real lyrics, real beats, and like C's, man, he impresses me every time. I'm really proud of having been part of that project with him, you know, and for me it will always be like one of the staples in my career, you know.